Live.
Well, hello and welcome to the Waking Up Spiritually podcast. We're so thrilled to have you join us today. And I'm Wendy Rose Williams. I am a past life energy healer, and I have the spiritual gift of helping people release energy that no longer serves them, whether it's pain, anxiety, depression, or just feeling stuck, like you cannot get life out of second gear. And when we're able to release that energy that doesn't serve us, we can just feel so much happier, so much healthier, and that our life has a beautiful purpose. And I'd like to introduce my co-host, my wonderful co-host, Gregg Kirk, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gregg Kirk. You can come to my website, greggkirk.com. That's spelled Greggkirk. I do energy healing. I do remote sessions and in-person sessions in Connecticut, the Connecticut, New York City area where I live. I am also a Lyme disease advocate and certified health coach. So I help patients with Lyme disease, both with physical treatments and also with energy healing as well. I also do online group healing circles every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. East Coast time. You can join us on Zoom. And I do once a month fire circles in the Connecticut area, and we're doing one on the autumnal equinox on September 22nd in Connecticut on a ley line, on the Hammonasset ley line, which goes from Long Island all the way up to the top of Lookout Mountain in Woodstock, New York. So very cool, high vibe. And so come and join us if you're in the area. We've got people from New York City coming in. So it's, if you're in that area, it's very enjoyable and very uplifting, and there's some healing involved. So go to my website, greggkirk.com, and click on the events link. So Wendy, why don't you tell us today, we've got a special guest.
Yes, I am so thrilled that my friend Sharon Sananda Kumara is able to join us today. And Sharon had one of the most compelling near-death experiences I've ever heard. So I asked her to share it with us firsthand, because when we survive these sorts of profound NDEs, that means there's a really special reason why we're here. And Sharon also has an incredibly close relationship with Yeshua and Yeshua's higher self vibration, as you can tell by her name. So let's bring her on, Gregg.
Okay.
And while Gregg is doing that, I also want to mention wakingupspiritually.com is where you can find the PowerPoint version and all the archives of these conversations. So you're welcome to join us there, as well as on our YouTube channel, where we go live the second Monday of the month, typically, depending on speaker availability, if we're having speakers, as well as on the podcast apps. So welcome,
Sharon.
Sharon. We're so glad to have you here.
Hi. Well, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Gregg.
So can you tell us about your near-death experience, Sharon?
Of course. Well, I found out that I had two after the first one. And I think that happens a lot with people I'm hearing that when they have one later in life, they remember they may have had one when they were younger. So that's what happened with me. And it was in 2001. And I was living in San Antonio, Texas, went inner tubing down the river with some girlfriends one summer, and we had a really good day. We got on the shuttle bus afterwards to get back, go back to our cars that the outfitter was driving. The shuttle bus was driving or pulling a trailer that had our inner tubes and our ice chests and everything. And the bus was full. I got on and I was up against the back doors, a little school bus that held 13 people, which included the driver. So we were standing in the aisleway, and I was up against, not against, but the emergency exit door was at my back. And it was an old bus so the driver was shifting through, four on the floor, shifting through gears. So we were jerking back and forth for the short drive to the outfitter where our cars were parked. And when he pulled away from a light, a street light, as he was shifting in from second into third, I was thrown against the back door and I fell out the back door and hit the trailer hitch. I remember thinking as I'm falling out, I can't believe I'm falling out of this bus. And I hit the trailer hitch on my back. I bounced off the trailer hitch, bounced onto the pavement, and it was about 100 degrees outside. Bounced on the pavement and bounced. I remember every bounce, bounced onto my side and was ended up bouncing underneath the trailer. And at that moment, I must have known this was going to happen because I yelled in my head as loud as I could, "Stop, you're killing me." And when that happened, the trailer, one of the wheels of the trailer ran over my neck and my head. And at that point, I popped out of my body. And so I am floating above my body, looking down at the scene. And he hadn't stopped yet. It took a little bit for him to hear my friends yelling, "She just fell out," that kind of thing, when he finally stopped, poor guy. And so I'm looking down thinking, okay, well, I did die. And I knew that this was something that I had done many times before. It wasn't a big deal. I didn't really have any attachment to my body. I was already having out of body experiences at that time, which I started having, which is a whole other story, which I started having after my biological dad died in 1998. And I started consciously being able to control them. I was having spontaneous sleep paralysis and things like that after he passed. And so anyway, I'm looking down at my body and thinking, okay, well, it's, I've done this before. It was it. And I see a bus, a big, one of those commuter bus driving up, and I think, I hope that bus doesn't run over my body because that would make a big mess. And then I start thinking, obviously it didn't, but then I'm thinking it did stop. I think this is going to really ruin my friend's day because we had such a good day, and here I go and die on them, type of thing. And it was one of my friend's birthday. And so I was having that kind of thought, and I thought about and that went to my friends and I'm sorry, my partner at the time. He's my ex-partner now, and I thought, well, he'll get over it. He'll be fine. And then I went to my sister, who was, we're really close, and she has her family. And I thought, well, she'll be okay. She'll, it'll be really traumatic, but she'll be fine. She has her family. And then I thought about my mom, who was still here, and I pretty much took care of her. And when I thought about my mom, I felt a presence behind me, and I turned around, and there was my stepdad, who had died earlier. And I had already seen once or twice in my out of body experiences, which was the reason why I started wanting to control my out of body experiences, was to find him. And there he is, and he says, "It's not your time."
Can I ask you a question real quick, Sharon?
Of course. Yes.
Yes. So, when you said that, I'm sorry, when you said, "Stop, you're killing me," who were you talking to? Do you know?
I was talking to the bus driver, was my awareness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's who what went through my mind is, "Stop, you're going to run over me. You're going to run over my head."
I see.
I knew in my mind that he was going to run over, or that not he was going to run over me, but that the trailer was going to run over me. Yeah.
Okay.
My head or something like that. I just knew it wasn't good. So I was there, and I saw my dad, and we were really close, and he's says, "It's not your time." And I said, "But I want to stay with you. I really missed him." Excuse me. And he's telling me that my mom needs me. Excuse me, let me take a little drink.
Because your mom was still alive. So
she was still there. Yeah, she was still alive, and she was struggling. And I needed to help her cross over and help her with her transition, which I ended up doing and later on. And she died a few months later, and so, or passed a few months later. And so he's telling me this, and I'm like, but I don't, I'm kind of arguing with him. And as we're talking, I feel a movement again to my right, and I see what I call the ancestor portal open up. And I saw this portal open up, and I was drawn to it. And I see ancestors there that I recognize in this life, and those that I didn't recognize, I wouldn't have recognized here, but I did recognize there. And I'm starting to move toward it. And as I'm moving toward that portal, I see another portal open beyond that portal. And it was huge. It was like the sun. It was as big as the sun, as if the sun is in front of me, just filled up my whole vision. And it looks like the sun, golden, white, beautiful. And I see a being, a human being moving out from the sun, moving toward me, a figure. And as he's moving closer, and he's moving pretty quickly, as he's moving closer, he's wearing the white robe. I see him and I recognize him right away as Yeshua, Christ, who we know is Jesus. And I flew to him. I flew to him because I missed him so bad and I recognized him. And I will say I was raised Catholic. However, I was not a good Catholic and I was not a religious person. I was a partier most of, as my adult life. And I remembered working with him later on after my NDE. I remembered that I had a pretty traumatic childhood, which I couldn't remember most of my childhood before that. And so he helped me remember all of that. And so I flew to him. And as he embraces me, and I still remember his laugh because he tells me the same thing my dad does. It's not your time. And I say, I want to stay with you. So he's embracing me and I hear his chuckle, that kind of thing. And as we are embracing, I feel him just as physical as here. As we're embracing, then I feel a merging our heart center. I look first. It's all happening at the same time. Probably it's hard to describe, right? I look into his eyes and I see the universe in his eyes, and what I saw was they were blue, sparkling, bright blue. And I see the universe is in his eyes, and I'm reflecting. My soul is reflected in his eyes. Everything is reflected. The light of source, the light of God, whatever you want to call it, pure love is reflected in his eyes. And then we start to merge. My heart center, I feel the light in my heart center merging with his heart center. I lose awareness of who I am as Sharon, and I just become pure love, pure light with him. It's everything that I could have felt at that point where I longed for him, where I felt anything about my feeling guilty about my pain on earth or anything, whatever it is, any trauma, any guilt, any worries are gone. There's nothing there that could have been, that would have kept me from his love. And forgiveness doesn't cover it because when you're with him, there is no forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive, really. So I've got goosebumps. So as I was basking with him in that space, I don't know how long it was, I was home, so it's eternal, right? Then I hear his voice calling my name, and I become aware of me as Sharon again, and he asked me if I want to go on a journey with him. And I say, yes, of course. And he puts out his hand, and I take his hand, and I could feel every line. I mean, it's just so intense. Feel every line and crevice in his hand as I take his hand. And as soon as I take his hand, all at the same time, we're moving through the cosmos, just flying through the cosmos. I mean, stars, planets, or the cosmos is moving through us. I don't know. What is space and time anyway, right? And then I see another portal, only this is a blue portal off in the distance, or a light. It's a light and it slowly becomes, I notice, is a portal. And we move through this portal, and then I see a blue turquoise color, blue planet or planetoid, a orb. And I recognize this as we move closer that this is a planet that's a home for me. And I recognize it also as a water planet, an ocean planet. So we're hovering above this planet, and he's helping me remember this planet. And there was something within me that recognized I knew I was a part of the matrix of this planet. And connected with, I became connected with the planet herself. And I considered it feminine, just like Earth feminine, the mother of the planet of herself. I became expanded to encompass the awareness and knowledge of the planet herself. And at that time, I felt so much love and gratitude that's hard to express in words for every part of my body, which was the planet, from an amoeba up to whatever, any larger sentient beings. And I was so in tune with everything on the planet, which was my body. I knew was my body, just like, our cells in our body, right? How if we're in tune with them, we communicate. Our body's always communicating with us, right? So, so then as I was aware of that, and in that space, I became more and more back to aware as myself as Sharon, but more of I was beginning to remember who I was as a being on that planet, an aquatic being on the planet. And so we're moving down toward the planet, and we dive into the water together. And I'm reunited with my family. And I remember who I am on that planet as a aquatic being. I'm going to say like being, mermaid. I'd always felt a kinship with mermaids and dolphins and whales throughout my life. And then I understood why. And so I was reunited. I have mate, children. I was reunited with my parents. I was reunited with some dolphin guardians there. I write a lot about it in my book. I go into a lot more detail about my book that just came out, The Water World. And so I was there, and it was like I never left. And I had to be pulled back because it was home for me. And I feel like it was probably fifth dimension along there, fifth density, fifth dimension along that line. That was the energy, the vibration I felt. We were telepathic. And so then I'm being brought back. I'm called back. I knew that I had
Did you pass away on that planet? Is that why you weren't there?
No, I don't believe I passed away. I believe I have a parallel, I guess you could say, life there, existence. And excuse me. And so when I chose to come to Earth, I mean, we heard the Earth call, right? The mother of the planet Gaia call the star beings to come help her out. And so that's what I understand. And so a lot of us heeded that call. So we took on another form, another reality. So yeah, I feel like I'm still there.
Okay.
Because I can still go there. And he told me that afterwards. You can always come here in your meditations, in your in your
dream time. And
thank you. Yeah, when in your multidimensional travels, which is what I did in my out of body experiences, which is what I was doing afterwards. But they had to keep calling me back, and I kept coming out. A lot of times in my out of body experiences, and I call it a reality shift, where I'm underwater, and it took me a little while to not be panicked, and then I realized, okay, this is my home world, because I was seeing myself just as clear as day as what I call a mermaid. And I remember, gosh, and the strength I had, and my body was just so freaking strong. I can't even describe how strong it is. And so that I was amazed at that. Wow, that is crazy. But so I was called back. He called me back, and and we had conversations about coming back to Earth. And I agreed. I said, okay, under one condition, that I know consciously that you walk with me during my life, and I know that you are there with me, and you are always with me, and I know this. You help me wake up, basically. Wake up to you, um, that I know you're there, and I remember these things. He said, deal, and then I'm
What a
back on
powerful
earth.
request. That's so fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. Which is why I wrote the book, Awakened Soul, my
Yes.
near-death journey home through Christ's infinite love, because afterwards it took me a little while to remember, because it was so intense, and I wasn't able to process all of it all at once.
It takes a lot of unpacking with something like
Yes.
that. And I highly recommend Sharon's book. I so enjoyed it. When we pull up the PowerPoint, we'll have the
Oh,
link
sorry.
for more information. No, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So Sharon, can you continue? Can you connect the dots? I'm still hung up and waiting to see what happens with that big bus that's coming towards your body. I don't want to disrupt your flow though, if you want to
Oh,
continue
no.
this travel, but I'm hanging on
Sure.
that point.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm back on in the middle of the road. I'm back in my body in the middle of the road with not a huge slam, but a bit of a slam. But I don't remember what happened. I just am looking at this bus coming at me, and this car and the bus, and I jump up, but they do stop. I jump up out of the middle of the road, run to the side of the road. I know, right?
You
And
physically are able to jump up.
mhm,
Wow.
yes,
So much distance for this.
well, it's an adrenaline rush, but I do believe wholeheartedly that the light infusion that I had with Christ and my trip to the water world, all of that healed my body, basically. Yeah. Because, everyone said afterwards, you should be either dead or paralyzed, either one, so yeah, I believe that healed my body. So I was definitely protected, and he protected me, and I know my dad had a lot to do with it too. So I jump up, I run to the side of the road. The bus hadn't stopped yet. And it finally stops, and my friends start running toward me, and they're like, oh yeah. And so they call an ambulance. The bus driver calls an ambulance, and the ambulance comes and put it on a spine stabilizer. I was bleeding from my ears, but it just so happens that my ear was when the tire ran over my ear, it tore my ear up pretty bad. So they glued it back together. Thank goodness it wasn't gone. But but my ear was a mess. Uh I had a bunch of road rash. I have a bunch of road rash on the right side of my body, which was against the road. I was losing hair. My hair was falling out like crazy from the tire running over my head. Uh, and I've got scars, but they released me from the hospital after 5 hours. They took X-rays.
After 5 hours?
Mhm. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. They took X-rays. I didn't have a concussion, no broken bones. I mean, I still have to do maintenance on my back, but that's okay. And yeah, and after that, I mean, it took me a while to heal, of course, because of the muscle and tissue damage and the scarring, the skin that was gone from the right side of my body almost.
And not only the physical, but the emotional from having had that sort of a traumatic incident.
Yeah, I had PTSD for quite a while. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't drive. Um
I was just going to ask you how you felt about small buses
right.
or about driving or riding.
Yeah, buses don't bother me, or didn't bother me. It was just being on the road did for a
Right.
while. So I couldn't drive. And I was off work for a couple of months. My boss was very, very, at the time, my boss was very, very forgiving and
Oh,
and
that's so
understanding.
perfect. That's so appreciated. And can you tell me more about the ancestor portal? That's just fascinating concept to me, and I've not really heard anyone speak to that. You said you recognized certain people when that ancestor portal opened, but and they were the ones from this lifetime, so there's this immediate recognition, but you knew everyone. Can you tell me what that was like? Like how did
Sure.
you know them?
It was an inner knowing. And I will say that when I saw them, they weren't really happy to see me, which gave me another inkling that, okay, it must not be my time, like my dad said. My dad must be telling me the truth, you know? So, so I wanted to ignore him, right? So they just had a look on their face of basically,
Like,
it's not
why
your
are you
time.
here?
Yeah, what are you doing here? Why are we here? So, I mean, it wasn't a bad look. It was more of just kind of neutral.
Mm.
And I recognized my grandparents, and I also recognized my aunt, and you know, those people that had already passed. Those people, and then there I saw kind of behind them. There was it was like okay, my mother's family was on one side, my father's family was on another. For some reason, they were in that way for me, in that
Positioning.
positioning. Thank you. And then behind them, behind the ones that I recognized, were ancestors that I knew, and I don't know how I knew them. It was just a knowing, you know, like when you meet someone on the street and you're like, I know you, but I don't know how I know you.
The soul level recognition. I had the
Yes,
same experience during my near-death experience where there was immediate recognition of people from this lifetime, but I knew everyone there because it was soul family and it didn't matter whether I'd met
right.
this lifetime or in others.
Yes, totally like that. And so I knew them, and but they were behind the ones that I knew from this life.
And you mentioned that Yeshua came walking in, or that you moved toward the sun, and that it was just this all encompassing. Have you heard the term the great central sun, uh,
Mhm.
as our point of origin? Can you speak to that, or what your understanding or what your belief is there?
Yes, I actually have a chapter on it in my book. He took me to on a trip there, as you probably know. Yeah, um, and I what I understand is that could be our, you know, that might be our point of origin. There are some theories about that, because I do see source, God, however we want to term the infinite intelligence, as like a sun, and that the center of the sun is would be source intelligence, and and then we as the sun radiate or source intelligence radiates light out, the what do you call this circular,
The circle of life.
the rings, yes, the
Okay.
rings,
Okay.
as the rings are radiating further out from the center, the source of the sun, the center, which the heat and the light and all that, it becomes less and less uh, light filled, I guess you could say, and intense. And so we are in the outer realms of the sun, of source. That's where this realm is on the outer realms. It's not so light filled like it is in the inner realms. And as we progress, I mean, we all come from source, from the center. Because I do write about that in my book too, is I remember having that memory of being of the spark, as a spark, as source thought us up, becoming that spark, sparking out from the center of the sun, of source, and moving down the rings on a ray, and a ray of light. And as we come out to the outer rings, we're in the lower realms or outer realms, which are lower frequency. And so our goal, or what we choose to do, the reason we came out, was to find our way back to the inner realms, move up in frequency, and help our little sparks, soul sparks along the way, and gather together in soul spark families. So that's how I saw the son that he was moving out of. And the near-death experience I had when I was 9, he came to meet me then as well. But he told me I didn't have to come back because I was only 9. And I said, but I haven't finished my job yet. So it was quite different than when I was in my 40s. And then I was like, oh, I'm done. He's like, no, you're not done. No, you still got ways to go. So I didn't want to start over when I was 9, which meant reincarnating and being here during these times. But that's how I understand the central sun. And I understand there's a central sun and then a great central sun, which would be even deeper as we go inward, not outward, but as we go inward, more intense and more light filled, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. I really, really appreciate that direct experience and your thinking in that area, because it's an area I've had questions in, and I'm sure listeners have too. And Gregg, I'll turn it over to you because I know I've got more questions, but let me turn it over to you.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about your near-death experience when you were 9?
Yes. It was during a time, and I just to preface that, afterwards, when I started working with Yeshua on a conscious level, um, I promised him that I would be in meditation every night in my room at 9 p.m., where he would work with me. And that's when memories started coming about my childhood, which is what needed to happen first for lots of reasons. And so I remembered as a child, childhood abuse from a particular family member, an extended family member, not immediate family member. And during one of these incidents where I was being abused by this family member in outside in the backyard of my grandparents' house, he, it happens. He would beat me up, and there was it was violent. So at one point, when the memory was coming during my meditation, so I started uncovering. Sorry, I skipped that part. I started uncovering memories of being abused as a child, and these memories were repressed, and I could feel the pain, smell the vomit, that kind of thing. Because if anyone's been abused as a child or anytime, we tend to repress that so we can get on with life, right? And as a child, it's really tough. So there was one memory that came up where this is happening, and he hits me so hard, and I feel the immense pain for a split second, and then boom, I'm out of my body. And I didn't see my body at that point as a little girl. In that NDE, I'm floating in a dark space. And when I first started remembering it, I didn't understand why I would be in a dark space at first. And then as I became more aware of NDEs later, I've heard people call it the void.
I was just going to say, it sounds
Yeah.
restful to me for the situation you were in, because it's the void. I mean, it's like a cocoon of
Place of healing.
enveloped to
Mm-hmm.
just rest and just be. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but is that tracking with what
Yes.
you
Well, I
experienced?
felt completely at peace, and just like the one in 2001. However, that was different. I felt completely supported and at peace. I mean, I went from intense pain for a half a second to complete peace and feeling supported, and like you said, enveloped with support and love and peace and tranquility. And as I'm laying there, I start to expand. My mind expands from the little girl as Sharon to expanding, being a part of the void, where I began understanding that this space here is all about balance. And this is, I guess, the primordial universe. I'm not sure how would we term it, but it was all about balance. Anything that was out of balance within me, the void would balance it out. So I was always in balance and always supported. And there was this music, but it's not music. It was a
Like a
resonance.
hum, like a tone.
Yeah, it was a resonance that was just so um beyond words, that was part probably helped support me as well. So as I'm expanded in that space, and and um and it's not like I knew everything. I didn't need to know everything. I just was everything. I was everything. I wasn't knowing. It was a being. I just was everything. Everything and nothing at the same time. All of it.
Yes, it's so hard to put into words because when we're in our human body and have our brain and our
Yeah.
psyche and we're trying to understand these concepts, but you're expressing it beautifully. And I also think of the void. I mean, you can think of it like a shelter or like a womb type of space or like a beautiful, perfect cave. And my belief is the people who have had, because there's a certain percent of people who really struggle with their NDE and feel it was hellish or dark or scary or terrible, and they say I never got to the light. And my belief is it's because they're correct. They didn't get to the light because they stayed in the void,
Mm.
which is
Mhm.
an interim. And you can either whip on through there and go, yeah, I'm here because you're comfortable with the void, or you can just stay there and just soak it in because it's exactly what you need and then move on. Do you think that the NDEs, I because we've all had them, the three of us have all had them. Do you
Mm.
think that there's some commonalities, Sharon, but yet there's also very unique features because we receive healing if we need healing, because you received a miraculous healing during your NDE to be able to peel yourself off that highway and to have walked to the side of the road
Right.
or people even got there and then, just to be in the ER only for 5 hours, etc. And I experienced similar. I got so much unconditional love and energy given to me during my NDE the night before I had surgery. I don't think I would have survived the surgery the next day without getting that trip home. So does that make sense to both of you?
Yes,
That we get what we need and it can be very individual.
I agree with that totally. I mean, everyone's experience here on the planet is individual and unique. So I believe, why not have the same thing in the higher realms? Because we are unique personalities. Um, what about you, Greg?
Yeah, I found listening to other people's stories and people who channel and can see beings, well, like, Robert Monroe, for instance, in his books, he talks about being in some of these realms, like they're, what we're calling the void. It's a place of healing, and people will stay there as long as they need to heal. And sometimes other light beings will come and wake them up because some people have so much healing to do, they don't know that they can't get out of that, that healing place, void, whatever. So
Mm.
they might need some assistance. But there's also another place that's more like a limbo. It's for people who have very limited belief systems and they don't believe in a higher being. They don't believe in anything really. So they go to this gray zone where everything is gray. I've heard a lot about this, where you just wait there again until another being might come and help you into another place, another life, or wherever you need to go next.
Mhm.
But so that's my question for you, Sharon. How long did you stay in that zone, and what brought you back into your body?
Well, I don't know how long I was there, but this time is relative. But what brought me back to my body was as I'm floating in that realm, and in that suspended space, something to my right catches my attention again. I'm brought back to my awareness as Sharon, and something to my right, off to my right, catches my attention, and I see a light and it's another portal, and or the first portal, I should say. and uh and I see the being Christ coming out of that light portal. This was the first time he met me in an NDE, or one that I remember anyway. And he comes to me, and it's a very different experience, and I'm very happy to see him. I know him. He's like, my partner, my brother, whatever. He's like, it's not, I mean, I feel so much love from him. It's not a big, not like I didn't miss him like I did as the adult. Even though I was very happy to see him because but I know him. And I just left him. So, when I'm 9 years old, it hadn't been that long since I left him. And and he kneels in front of me and he says to me, he says, "You've suffered enough, my child. You don't have to return." And I said, "But I want to. I don't want to start over. I want to go back because I don't want to start over." And he asked me, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." And he asked me twice, I believe, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." And that's when I was back.
It's really brave of you.
Incredibly courageous.
Right.
How
Or
as a 9-year-old, you knew that you felt like your only choice was to restart. So that puts aside the concept of walk-ins and time being continuous, etc. I mean, there's like 50 other ways it could go with that concept.
right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I knew that I didn't want to start over. So I already knew about what we call reincarnation. I already knew that I would have to be born in a body, I guess. And so uh yeah, and then I'm back. And I don't know if it's brave as much as just not wanting to go back to first grade.
Right.
But yeah, that's how that turned out. And here I am.
That's just, it's amazing. And I so appreciate you sharing these memories and insights and experiences, Sharon, because I think there's just so much for listeners to continue to unpack from them. So I look forward to comments and questions that may come forth from the listeners. Anything you'd like to
No, thank
add,
you.
either of you?
Well, I was just going to say, let's pull the PowerPoint up and then we can talk about what Sharon's been up to since,
Perfect.
yeah, since these experiences. So here we go.
Perfect. So here's Sharon's book, Awakened Soul, and her near-death journey home through Christ's infinite love. And now you've really got just some little sense of how deep that is and how significant that is. And Sharon remembering her unique abilities after her second near-death experience. And she's now in service as a psychic medium, as an author, as a channel, spiritual counselor, a hypnotherapist specializing in past life therapy, and the founder of the Kumara Academy of Transformation, which offers various metaphysical courses and services. And Sharon's website is sharonsananda.com. And her second website is Kumara, Kumara, academy.com. And her YouTube channel is Ascension Gateway. So anything to add to that, Sharon or Gregg?
Oh, well, the book is it was 10 years in the making, and it's about my journey, my healing journey and this it's really funny because Christ, Yeshua, as I remembered him as my teacher, helped me heal through metaphysical modalities, which is kind of awesome. So it's a merging of, again, I'm not religious at all, and he didn't come to me in a religious manner. By the way, and you probably everyone here probably already knows that he has a huge sense of humor, and he kept me laughing a lot. So, he knows what we need, and he knows what I need, which is humor. But yeah, again,
best medicine.
it is, isn't it? And so he helped me heal through some very intense times. And I went through a Kundalini awakening, which I did not know anything about it 20 years ago or so. And it was very intense for me. And I share that journey from the ups and downs and his love and his patience. Number one, patience with me is profound beyond words. And it's interesting that after my mother passed, she's the one who brought him to me as the mentor and guide for me, because I did not remember it right. Like I said, I didn't remember my NDE at first. I knew that he was showing up in my out of body experiences. I was still doing that, and was with a spiritual group, where we would take trips and journeys and meet for lots of reasons, and we get lots of hits. And so when she passed, I was talking to her. I was starting to realize my mediumship abilities, and I was talking to her on a spirit board, which I know is controversial, but hey, spirit boards are just another tool for communicating with spirit. They should not be sold to children, and always do a blessing and know what you're doing when you use any kind of a psychic tool, So I had an angel board that I was talking to my mother on, and and her and I talked every night, and she brought someone that she said, I have a guide here for you that wants to work with you. And I felt his energy so intense, and I didn't feel worthy of it. And we all have that, unfortunately. I'm finding out where he forgave us, but we keep forgetting to forgive ourselves, right? So it took me a little while for me to say, okay, I'll meet him. I was asking, is he an ascended master? Because I felt he was male. Is he an ascended master? And she said he's top shelf. So, which I thought was really funny. So I said, okay, Mom, I'll talk to him. Yeah, all right, I'll give him a shot. So, so I felt her energy move out and his energy move in, and the love that was so profound. Anytime I would sit in that space or was away from when we were in my classroom kind of thing, and talking on the board, isn't that funny? Christ is talking to me on a spirit board. I felt so much profound love that I cried, healing tears, sobs, healing tears with him, the profoundest. And as he worked with me in my meditations, that's when he asked me to be in meditation with him every night at 9 p.m. And I stayed diligent with all that. He helped me heal feelings of unworthiness, pain and trauma that I had carried in my soul memory for my, not just for this body or this me, but for my ancestry too, all the way back to the galactic wars and probably, beyond that. So it was very profound. And that's why it took me a while to write the book, because it's a lot. And I was healing even more as I was writing it. And people have told me as they read my healing journey, it heals them too. So
Absolutely. And Sharon, it's such a genuine, authentic, open-hearted memoir. It's a really, really gutsy memoir. So I totally understand why it would take that long to process that level of energy, because I went through a similar journey with regression healing too, Joe and Marilyn.
yeah.
And that was an 8-year journey, because again, it still was all being healed. And then it was so interesting. You didn't know I was writing a book. I didn't know you were writing a book. And we launched on the same weekend.
I know, isn't that
On
awesome?
Friday, June 21st, and I launched on Monday, June 24th. And it was right around, it was not only the solstice, but it was just, so many things were happening energetically.
I love your book. I
Well,
interview Wendy on my channel too. Sorry to interrupt you.
you and just likewise. And it's all and I also want to applaud you for the dedication, because you, like Gregg, really walk the talk of having such an enjoyable, significant daily practice. And it's not like you're running around asking everyone, help me, do this for me, give me enlightenment, I need help with this, I can't figure it out. Just going within. I mean, the fact that you were meditating every night at 9 o'clock and made that commitment and were able to work all this through, I think is just a terrific example for people. It really
Thank
is
you.
there within our heart.
Yes, it works. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I see it as if we make a commitment, they will make a commitment. If we, if we half make a commitment, then our guides are like half make a commitment too. It's whatever we put out there. It's
Can only meet us where we're at. They can't do it for
right,
us. They can't magic wand us and make it all
right.
easy and fun and perfect, because it would not be in service to us.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hard part to grapple with, because of course our human ego and psyche is like, why can't it always be easy and fun? And that's not the ride we signed up for. That's not the ride we're creating and co-creating.
It
Right.
does get better once we end up doing the work and get on
Absolutely.
the other side of it. Yeah.
Right. And when we have these experiences early and we don't do the work, things get harder. So,
Yes.
right.
Which is just another
True.
opportunity to learn it in a different way. And I absolutely agree with you, Gregg, because you were very just generous in sharing your journey and your wonderful book, The Gratitude Curve, because you talked about going for healing multiple times in South America, but it just took a while to just have the humility to realize, well, wait a minute, I can't have this profound healing here for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks and go home and go back to not getting enough sleep and eating McDonald's French fries all day long. I'm not saying that's what you were doing, but just examples.
No, yeah, not far off, but yeah, I had a very stressful job and I wasn't really paying attention to my diet and things like that. Yeah. And it luckily, people come into our life and I think guides work through other people, because one of the times I went down again, to Brazil to get a healing where I thought I needed to get it. That's actually where I needed to understand that that type of healing was possible and connection with the guides were possible. I didn't know about any of that then. So I experienced it there. I didn't realize what was going on. I just thought, oh, wow, this is where I go now to, have that experience. But somebody said to me, like the third time I went down there, oh, I guess you're going to come down here every year and get recharged. And it just did something to my brain. I thought, no, I should not need a crutch to do this. This is universal energy. I should be able to experience this anywhere in the world. And so so that was good to understand that. And then from that point onward, the journey was, all right, how can I connect with this energy and my guides, and then I'll heal. And then lo and behold, oh, I can help others with this stuff too. So
Nice.
Exactly. Well, we just have to, we have to learn however we learn. And I just so appreciate and honor that the guides and the angels and God and whoever you believe in are so infinitely patient with us. Because
Yes.
they must be just, I know they're beyond emotions, but if they weren't, I'm sure there'd be a lot of head slapping going on. Like, really? You're going to do that again for the umpteenth time, and you think that's going to go well.
yeah. Yes.
I
So
can't count how many times I've said to my guides, including Yeshua, I know you've told me this before, but remind me again.
mhm, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, show me a different way, tell me a different way. I've had this really uh, interesting experience with the guides, where when there's something that's challenging or doesn't feel good or doesn't feel right in my life, and I'm paying attention to it and going, oh, what's the lesson here? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to, just be or do? Because it's not all about doing. But what's the lesson? Why is this happening for me? And then usually there'll be two more repetitions in like different flavors of it with different people, different circumstances. So they give me like a curriculum of there's 1, 2, 3, just like a couple days apart,
Mm.
that I can see the pattern, and then I can graduate from whatever learning. So I think if we can, you just ask that question, why is this happening for me when something feels really challenging or is upsetting or just doesn't feel good, and just, ask that. And then I think then we just open the dialogue.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Mhm.
Well, listen,
Let's go to the next slide
the
then.
next slide here. And
Yay, there it
So
is.
I would love to invite listeners to join me. I've got 2 fall events coming up, and the first one's going to be a live channeling with the Ascended Masters and Angels on Saturday, September 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And you're able to bring a question, and I'm going to have a lovely moderator, the same moderator, Tanya Stanley, that I used last time. So I will just be entranced to be able to do that live channeling, and participants will just type their question into the chat, and Tanya will ask me, and the Ascended Masters and Angels will come through to help. So the link to sign up for that is here, and you can find it on my website, which is wendyrosewilliams.com. And I'm also going to be doing a fun Come As You Were past life regression guided meditation on Saturday, October 19th, also at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Both are 90 minutes. And what that is going to be, we're going to journey back in time to a past life, the one with the most healing and information and uplift for your life today. And if you have an instinct, if you know who you were in a favorite past life, or just are really drawn to a certain time period, you are so welcome to dress appropriately. So it'll be a Zoom call, but I did the last one wearing my Yankees uniform.
Nice.
So Regression Healing 2, my most recent book, my latest book, Joe and Marilyn, is now available in audiobook format, thanks to Gregg. So any authors out there, if you need help turning your book into an audiobook, Gregg, being a musician and a sound engineer, including some of his many talents, was able to help me create the audiobook version. So I'm just so grateful for that. So contact Gregg on his website, which is Gregg, Gregg, Kirk, KIRK.com, if you want help turning your book into an audiobook. And I included the link to the book here. And I just had a really interesting healing experience last night with a wonderful shaman. And I had a lot of things going on with the ancestors. I shook a lot of cages with this book, and it was hysterical because my mom's parents, my maternal grandparents, came in, and they're both on the other side. They both died in the early to mid 90s, and my grandmother was trying to cajole or honestly kind of trick my grandfather into reading the book, and she's like, "It's a baseball book, it's Joe DiMaggio." My grandfather had played minor league baseball and was this lifetime baseball fan. So I thought that was just hysterical that there was like this discussion going on the other side amongst some of my relatives of one trying to get the other one to read the book. So it really was great fun to finally get it released, because similar to Sharon, for me it was an 8-year journey. And I also felt so much healing from editing it, and needing to go through it one more time in each of the different versions. And I too, like you, Sharon, and probably Gregg, you've had the same experience. I just think the most wonderful thing is when someone tells you, "Oh my gosh, I received healing from reading your book." And I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we bare our souls and just take the energy and the time, because it's not only healing us, it's our gift, hoping that it will do the same for others. Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's wrap up here then with the final slide. So thank you all so much for being here. Please join us again on October 14th for the next Waking Up Spiritually podcast. You're welcome to join us in our Facebook group, which is Waking Up Spiritually. So just look for that in the search bar. And you can go to our website, as I mentioned, wakingupspiritually.com. And there, all of these broadcasts are wonderfully archived and described by Gregg. And there's a search button. So you can put in past life, you can put in guide, you can put in energy management, whatever you need help with in the field of energy, of metaphysics, of healing. Those types of things. So, and if you don't find what you're looking for and need, drop us a line and let us know, because you may have a great idea for a future broadcast. Gregg and I typically broadcast with just the two of us, but at this point, we've just had such interesting people to bring on that we're going to be doing a series of marvelous guest interviews. So if you have a great idea for someone that we could interview, let us know that too. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and rate and review us on Apple iTunes or whatever app you listen to your podcast on. We so appreciate that, because it helps other people in the same lane to find us too. Visit Gregg at his website for his wonderful events like Fire Circle and other things like that at Gregg Kirk, Gregg Kirk, KIRK.com, and visit me at my website, which is wendyrosewilliams.com. So thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate every one of you and what you're here for on the planet, because I think more of us than are aware of it or awake to it. We're asked to come in, as you expressed so beautifully, Sharon, to come in from other planets and from other galaxies to help Mother Earth at this point, and to just help humankind as well as the animals. And I also heard somebody put it really bluntly and say, well, Jesus is just a heck of a recruiter. He's the ultimate salesperson.
Right.
And
I would
I'm
agree with that.
too, because we just feeling that love and caring from him. His energy is so unique, and I absolutely know that that's why he was able to help bring the right people to the planet at this time. So we do all help each other and just help walk each other home.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks for being our guest today, Sharon.
Oh, well,
Really
thank
enjoyed
you.
it. Thank you.
So did I. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
We'll see everybody
Bye for
next
now.
month. Okay. Bye-bye.